Hi, awesome Denver Public High School students taking COM 151 Intro to Mass Media. This is Jack Lucido, your professor for this class, and your amazing high school teachers have been, working with you and getting you into the content. And I want to thank you for hanging with us. I know it's been rough with this COVID-19 situation and 100% online, and the world is shifting a little, but it'll give us lots to talk about in the future, I'm sure. So I'm going to play my PowerPoint for the Internet of Things unit for week 8, and I'm going to kind of narrate and lecture a little bit and then make this into a YouTube video for you to watch, which is what you're doing now. So let's see how this works. I'm going to share my screen. Ali Velshi wrote the article that you read from 2013. He's now a MSNBC cable news anchor. And he is talking about, in those days, back in 2013, 7 years ago, about the internet and connectivity, smart homes, smart cars, et cetera, et cetera. So let's check out this first video.
The Internet of Things is changing much about the world we live in, from the way we drive to how we make purchases, and even how we get energy for our homes. Sophisticated sensors and chips are embedded in the physical things that surround us, each transmitting valuable data that lets us better understand how these things work and work together. But how exactly do all these devices share such large quantities of data, and how do we put that information to work? Whether we're improving the production of a factory, giving city residents real-time updates on where to park, or monitoring our personal health, it's the common Internet of Things platform that brings this diverse information together and provides the common language for the devices and apps to communicate with each other. The process starts with the devices themselves, which securely communicate with an Internet of Things platform. This platform integrates the data from many devices and applies analytics to share the most valuable data with applications that address industry-specific needs. Let's start with a simple example, a car. After taking a long road trip, Rebecca notices that her check engine light has come on. She knows that she needs to have her car looked at by a mechanic, but is not sure whether it's something minor or something that needs immediate attention. As it turns out, the sensor that triggered Rebecca's check engine light monitors the pressure in her brake line. This sensor is one of many monitoring processes throughout the car, which are constantly communicating with each other. A component in the car called the diagnostic bus gathers the data from all these sensors, then passes it to a gateway in the car. The gateway integrates and sorts the data from the sensors. This way, only the most relevant diagnostic information will be transmitted to the manufacturer's platform. But before sending this organized data, the car's gateway and platform must first register with each other and confirm a secure communication. The platform is constantly gathering and storing thousands of bits of information from Rebecca's car and hundreds of thousands of cars like hers, building an historical record in a secure database. The manufacturer has added rules and logic to the platform. So when Rebecca's car sends a signal that her brake fluid has dropped below a recommended level, the platform triggers an alert in her car. The manufacturer also uses the platform to create and manage applications that solve specific issues. In this case, the manufacturer can deploy an application on the platform called the Asset Management System. This application oversees all of their customers' cars on the road, as well as all the parts in their warehouses. It uses the data from Rebecca's car to offer her a potential appointment time to service her car, directions to the nearest certified dealer, and a coupon for the service. What's more, the app will ensure that Rebecca's brakes are covered under her warranty, that the correct replacement part is ordered, and then sent to the dealership so it is ready when she arrives. But the manufacturer's analysis does not stop there. They have also deployed a continuous engineering application that tracks not only Rebecca's car, but hundreds of thousands of others, looking for ways to improve the design and manufacturing process of the car itself. If the same problem in her brake line crops up in a critical number of other cars, the manufacturer uses applications custom-built for the automobile industry to pinpoint the exact problem. They can see if these cars were made at the same factory, used the same parts, or came off the assembly line on the same day. So what do all these pieces add up to? Streamlined inventory management for the dealer, a better, safer car from the manufacturer. And for Rebecca, it means she can be back on the road faster and get to where she's going safely. All thanks to the Internet of Things.
In 2013, Ali Velshi called the Internet of Everything. He called this phenomenon of having umbrellas or our thermostats in our homes or our car computers connected to the Internet of Everything, IoE. But that term didn't last, and instead IoT has stuck. And you'll read about that and see that acronym IoT for Internet of Things. And that's become sort of the way we think about items besides just a computer or a tablet or a phone connected to the internet. Networking giant Cisco Systems estimated that in 2000 there were about 200 million things, mostly computers, connected to the internet. Okay, so that's in the year 2000, 20 years ago, about 200 million different things. Today, when this article was written that Velshi wrote, so 2013, the number is about 10 billion with a B. Here's a graph from 2017. Okay, so this shows that there are a grand total of 20 billion units connected to the internet. In 2017, over 20 billion devices connected to the internet. And on the PowerPoint, if you click down there, you can read where I sourced that graphic from.
Enchanted objects are ordinary things that have the same functionality that they had before, except now they can talk, they're connected. These are ordinary things that have extraordinary capabilities.
When we're creating technology for the home, really we want to make something that's seamless and transparent, and that as opposed to having things sort of call out and draw your attention to it, make it a more ambient experience.
We'll just continue to behave with those everyday objects as we do in the world, and we can remain focused on connectivity between two people.
What we're seeing now is this proliferation of different devices that are, moving out from the cell phone and onto our bodies and into the world.
So in the middle of our living room is a coffee table that has Google Earth embedded in the coffee table. And I just found that having access to this amazing zoomable map completely changes how often we talk about travel and how often we talk about the world and how often we look up places that are mentioned. And it's nice to have this beautiful large reference object sitting in the middle of our living space. Our devices can be a lot simpler, and the interaction to them can be a lot simpler. The internet-connected umbrella can just be an umbrella that only shows whether it's going to rain. You don't need to tap on an icon or do anything that seems sort of artificial.
We come from a time in which we need to adapt to our homes and not the other way around. So what if our home could be a platform that we personalize and we customize? The key is how do we create this ecosystem, these technologies that allow us to move from one experience to the other in the most seamless, most magical way. No?
Some people might think that a connected home is overwhelming, that there'll be so much information in the connected home that it's just a cacophonous environment and you wouldn't want to live there. But I think about how we decorate our homes today. We put photographs everywhere, we put paintings up, we put post-it notes up. You know, there's a lot of decoration and adornment in the home. And I think if enchanted objects can be designed in the right way, we're going to want hundreds of them around us.
I think what we're going to see is a new renaissance where designers as well as computer scientists are going to really make a really big impact in the type of technology that we see in the home.
The history of computers has mostly been about efficiency. I think one of the things that's changing is that enchanted objects can be about adding motion and add magic to the fabric of our everyday lives and experiences.
That's pretty cool. Enchanted objects. Right? That previous video from the New York Times. I think, you know, personally, it's going to make our lives easier, more efficient, potentially safer, sharing of medical information across several different care providers, those sorts of things. On the other hand, there's a security issue and a personal, you know, private data safety issue as well. So those are some of the things you're going to be discussing in your discussion groups this week, sort of grappling with the convenience, the safety, the savings in time, money, and energy for companies that are putting out Internet of Things, enchanted objects, connective devices that helps make our life better, you know, balanced with our personal freedoms and our intellectual property being cared for and stored safely. In other words, you know, not being hacked, not being invaded by outsiders, by hackers, by phishers. So interesting thing to think about, right? Ethically, fantastic, wonderful opportunities, but mixed with some of our personal property being, you know, out there and potentially taken by corporations or nefarious individuals and used for foul purposes. We don't want that. Here's the definition of Internet of Things: the interconnection via the internet of computer devices embedded in everyday objects, enabling them to send and receive data. Here's a video from San Diego from a couple years ago, Drone Week. So this is a city in Southern California that is using the Internet of Things across the city to monitor traffic flows, smog, air quality, etc. Check this out.
We're going to start going pretty soon now. You'll see the drone.
All right, let's see it.
The city of San Diego is the 8th largest city in the country. So when we do something big, it does have a ripple effect, and we can set an example for the rest of the country and sometimes even the rest of the world. We set a target of being 100% renewable in our electricity sector by 2035. We've been really going big on sustainability, I would say, and climate action. Super ambitious, also a really big challenge. Data is really the foundation for how we know how well we're doing. We have so many moving parts, so many different inputs of activities and information, and so many different services happening at the same time. It's something we don't often think about, but everything runs on electricity and energy. We have about 30,000 streetlights in the city of San Diego. There are these tall, vertical 40-foot poles that currently are very single-use. They just shine light. We're installing 14,000 of those with GE's LED streetlights. A subset of those, about 3,200 streetlights that will have GE's sensors attached to them. So the opportunities there to track air quality, to having camera technologies that can track cars and people and bikes. It has audio capabilities, all sorts of things you can now know by having real-time information. That's all, again, from that one single 40-foot pole that we had. We have a lot of people that just drive alone in their cars now, and that's the way the city was originally designed. It's very typical of California, and we're trying to shift that to get 50% of people to get around by biking, walking, or using some form of transit. We're constantly tracking things and measuring what we're doing, and that allows us to really know objectively if something's working and how we can improve it. The rollout of the sensor technology with Current by GE, it's the largest rollout of city IoT technology in the country.
The platform we're building for San Diego allows for open access to all this city data from these connected streetlight nodes. The goal is for third parties and developers to use the platform to build solutions for the city. Using sensors and software on top of existing infrastructure is what Current is all about. The ability to share data and collectively make San Diego run better is really valuable for everyone.
It's amazing. It's a really cool way to see the city.
The exciting part really is the democratization of data. It's accessibility where there really wasn't a lot before. Getting really granular data about where I live and things that actually affect me, there's something kind of awesome about that level of precision. How to better understand maps and models of what's happening around us.
Where businesses have more pedestrian traffic, for example.
Or, population density or how people move and how you guys plan changes to the city. I think it's just cool to think about how it's going to be made with better tools and more data and more insight.
Developers can take that information and come up with ideas that we never even thought of.
I think as a reference point, visualizations like this are a great ground truth. These are tools that are aiding the work that's being done to build the future.
If we set these big goals, unless we're tracking at a very specific level, we don't know, one, how we're doing, and two, how we can be doing better. You can't manage what you don't measure. So in that sense, data is the foundation or the brains behind saving energy. Data is awesome. Data is the new bacon.
It really feels like these big problems of energy efficiency and everything that it can mean for a city are actually solvable.
I think we're really at the beginning of a really cool energy transition.
So then for the Drone Week video from San Diego, which is a corporate video from the big, huge corporation, General Electric, but I wanted you to see that to get a sense of, well, new jobs. We heard from a sustainability officer 10 years ago, probably no such job, right? And of 30,000 light poles in San Diego, 14,000 of them are outfitted with high-tech sensing for smog, air quality, and for traffic flow and mass transit.
Imagine it's 2025. That's 8 years from now. You wake up and say, "Good morning, Google." And she responds with the weather, what's on your calendar for the day, as well as personalized news just for you. You then turn to your sleep tracker and you ask it, "How did I sleep last night?" She responds with your sleep patterns. Then you start to do your morning yoga and meditation with your smart breathing device, which will now let you know if your breaths aren't deep enough. You then go into your bathroom and you start brushing your teeth with your connected toothbrush. And as you gaze into your mirror lights up and it starts talking to you. And it lets you know that traffic is heavy and that you need to order your driverless car ASAP. So you use your mirror as a touchscreen and order your car to come quickly. You then rush to your refrigerator and you ask it what can be made in 7 minutes. Your fridge responds with eggs over easy, then automatically orders new eggs to be delivered via drone. So you have enough for the next morning. You scarf down your breakfast, you walk out the front door, and then you tell your door to lock itself on your way out. And then you step outside and put on your augmented reality glasses, which makes your approaching driverless car look like a purple dragon. You enter your fire-breathing vehicle and then proceed to check your smart glasses for any notifications that you may have missed. And that was all before 8 a.m. Wow. The future is coming quickly, and we are entering an amazing world of voice-activated technology and interacting with smart devices in a whole new way. But what are we giving up? Think about it. We are giving up those moments of stillness and introspection where we can think, dream, and reflect on our own lives. We used to think and let our minds wander when we drove our cars. But now our cars are talking to us and they're interrupting those thoughts. While we were waiting for anything, we used to sit there in our chair and think. And now we're distracted. And we used to sit on the toilet and reflect on our day. But now, we're scrolling. And soon, you won't be reflecting in that mirror, but your mirror will be interacting with you. In my moments of stillness, I've been able to reflect on my life and dream big. Like that time when I was 16 years old and reflected on a childhood dream of swimming with the sharks. I then started planning a shark diving trip behind my mother's back. But I will never forget being a junior in high school and being at 120 feet on an old shipwreck surrounded by sharks. That's a moment I'll never forget. And that moment made me realize that my thoughts made this a reality. And I started thinking about all different parts of life. I thought about what I wanted to major in, where I wanted to go to school. I thought about the type of people that I wanted to surround myself with. I thought about the type of company that I wanted to work for. And that type of thinking even led me to move across the country during a recession and even landed a dream job. When was the last time that you sat down in complete stillness and reflected on your life? But in an increasingly connected world, we are losing those moments of stillness where we can think, dream, and imagine. Did you know that we touch our phones 2,600 times a day? 2,600. Studies also show that 1 out of 10 people check their phones during sex. What the heck are they doing? Looking for a how-to manual? And a study from the University of Virginia showed that 67% of men and 25% of women would rather shock themselves with an electrical shock than sit there alone with their thoughts. An outlier in the study actually shocked himself 190 times. But we are coming to the point where we find it unpleasant and hard to sit there alone with our thoughts. And we've all had that panicked feeling when we thought we left our phone at home. This problem is getting worse. Right now, the average home has 10 connected devices. By 2020, that number is expected to be 50. And right now, many of these devices lie in our palm, or on our wrist, or in our thermostat. But just last month, Facebook's chief scientist has predicted that phones will be glasses by 2022. We are now going to be receiving those notifications and distractions right in front of our eyes. And these type of smart devices are part of something that you may have heard of, called the Internet of Things, or IoT, which is simply a network of connected devices that are able to collect and exchange data using embedded sensors. Current examples are your Google Home, your Amazon Echo, your Fitbit, your smartwatch, your Nest thermostat. But what are these companies getting in return for offering us such luxuries? They are gathering hordes of information about us in digital form. Companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon want to increase our engagement with their platforms. Did you know in 2012, we spent on average 7 hours a month on Facebook? And now we spend 25 hours a month on Facebook? And Facebook has this way of drawing us in from those bright red notifications, which gives us that much loved dopamine high, to their sophisticated algorithm, which tailors the content on your newsfeed. And Facebook works to keep us scrolling. It's essentially the slot machine effect. You never know what's going to come next. And companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon leverage eye tracking studies so they can understand where our eyes are landing on the page. But as we grow with technology, these companies are going to understand where we are looking in all parts of life. And coincidentally, Google just bought an eye tracking startup and its patents in Q4 of 2016. Google knows what we search, what sites we visit, how we engage with those sites, and with their new personal assistant, Google Home, it now understands what we're doing offline. But with the rise of voice-activated technology, what really is offline? Now, I am not anti-technology. In fact, I own a Google Home and an Amazon Echo in my own home. And I am intrigued by our behavior online. And a big part of what I do for my work is study and analyze the searches that you type into Google. That's right. Those deep, dark, personal searches that you thought no one would ever see. And there's some weird searches out there, let me tell you. Like the 118,000 annual searches in the US for, does farting burn calories? Or the 10,000 annual searches for, is drinking urine healthy? I wonder if it is. But we are struggling with our relationship with technology. Here's a word cloud of searches that we are typing into Google, sized by US demand. The bigger the word, the more searches there are for it. Cell phone addiction. That has 34,000 annual searches. And that's just in the United States. The kicker, 59% of those searches are made from a mobile phone. And when we look at the month-over-month growth trend for this keyword over the last 4 years, you can see this problem is not going away. And we are now turning to Google to answer trivial and important questions that we have. I'm going to give you a moment with this word cloud. We are now asking Google questions that we used to ask ourselves. Where should I live? What should I major in? Who should I vote for? We are losing confidence in our own decision making. And we are turning to Google to validate the questions that we have in our head. Now, I've had my own personal struggle with technology. It was just 5 years ago, my boyfriend asked me to go for a morning bike ride. We biked down the street, and we came upon a footbridge. As we crossed over the footbridge, Luke stopped to take a picture of the water below us. Instead of soaking up the view, I then turned my attention to my phone. But when I looked up from my phone, I didn't see him standing there anymore. But he was down on one knee, holding my great-grandmother's ring. I missed him getting down on one knee. That's a moment I can never get back. And to this day, I wonder what moments, thoughts, ideas, or dreams I've missed out on because I was distracted. And we are all increasingly becoming more distracted. Now, I do not have a solution to this problem. I love my phone. I love interacting with Alexa in our kitchen. But I know that my big ideas come when I'm away from technology. So a few things that I'm doing are those apps with the bright red notifications. I moved them to the last page of my smartphone. I bought a watch, a regular watch. I'm a millennial with a regular watch. But I found that so many times I was checking my phone for the time, then I would check my messages, then my email, and then Facebook, and I was being pulled into this world. And now I can just look at the time. And something that I have to do now is I have to schedule time in my calendar to be unplugged. Because that is when I dream and think and imagine. And that's where the magic happens. And though I don't have a foolproof solution, I'm here to shine a light on how connected we are today and how connected we are about to become. So I ask you to join me in pondering this question today. How will we balance our time between our thoughts and our devices so we can best serve our dreams, our imagination, and our ideas. Thank you.
To the TED Talk we just watched, oh my gosh, impressive. Especially the point where she gets down on her knee and misses her fiance pulling the ring out to ask her to marry her, right? So she's an advocate for interpersonal communication, face-to-face, less technology, while at the same time, she's consulting and embracing the idea of Internet of Things, connectivity, smartwatches, Alexa, smart speakers, and so on, simplifying our life, potentially making our cars more safe, trains more safe, and so on. So interesting dilemma, right? Our own personal property and data, and the security of that and how important that is with the connectivity of enchanted devices and other, homes, cars, hospitals, everything else being connected to the internet to safely transfer data. So I hope you enjoyed this lecture on Internet of Things. Go ahead and do the reading if you haven't already, and go ahead and engage your discussion groups and talk with each other about this. And this is Professor Lucido saying thanks and goodbye, and we'll catch you next time.